Whenever somebody asks you to forget the past, you will have to catch him by the collar and ask him to explain. You can never forget your past, right? There is only one option. Look at this. You cannot forget it. There is no use analyzing it, right? Suppose you had committed a mistake in the past. Every time you analyze it, you are recognizing the mistake, no doubt, but you are not offering any scope for your mind to learn. What happens is, recognizing the mistake only increases your self-opinion negatively, right? And the negative image inside you, when it gets more strengthened, spoils the present, right? And disturbs the future. You understand? So what do? The only way that you can handle your past is to grow out of it. I told you yesterday, whenever a man escapes from his past, right? If he drinks to escape, smokes to escape, sorrow does not escape. I told you, sorrow swims through the drinking, right? Your reasoning goes along with the smoke. In fact, you're smoking away your reasoning. You are smoking away valuable time and energy and scope of growth. You saw? Thereby you are destroying the present and distorting the future, right? So you cannot also escape. We are all very good in escaping. See, why does a man whistle? Why does a man sing in the bathroom? You just analyze. Is the bathroom a place for singing? No. The bathroom is a place for washing, right? But still you sing. Suddenly during your reading, you suddenly whistle, right? In the middle of doing some work, you also hoot, right? You just whistle. You casually hum. What does this mean? All these are what? Not just casual humming, they are all reactions to something you don't want to face. When that thing comes up, you just sing. Right? You think you can sing your way out. No. Singing there is an escape. The past remains. It comes back. You sing again. You keep on singing. The past keeps on coming. It's a continuous affair. That's why I often find, as a man studies, right, suddenly he sings. As a man studies, suddenly he taps. Why? Something, as he was studying, is disturbing the mind. Definitely not the subject. If the subject was disturbing you, you would have been a scientist. Right? So the query has not come from the mind. In fact, it is coming from within you. And that is nothing but your past that wants to project itself even though you are studying. Right? Even though you are also committed not to get disturbed, you receive the past and respond by a whistle. Like the conductor in a bus, see, he responds to a call from a passenger by whistling. Here also you respond to a call from your mind by just a whistle. Okay? So this implies that the past is there for you to see. Right? It is not there for you to escape. It is there for you to see, to handle, to grow out of it. Okay? Now how do you grow out of it? Tell me. If you have to grow out of it, you will have to be emotionally matured. That's what you two tell now. What does it mean by being emotionally matured? What does emotional maturity do? What does emotional maturity have to do with this past? Means, whenever the past surfaces, immediately your mind responds. Isn't it? Right? The problem is not in the past surfacing. Right? The problem is not in your mind allowing the past to surface. It is only in your response to that past. Remember. Okay? How do you respond? All these days your response was weak. Whenever the past surfaced, you didn't want to face it. You escaped by singing or drinking or some other habit. You escaped by running away from the situation. Right? That is not correct. So, on the other hand, suppose if you know to respond rightly, the right response, the proper response is called an emotionally mature response. Right? If in the past you had committed a mistake, right, and now the mind comes up with that mistake and you tell me, if I had not committed that, I could have been better today. All that you must do it, accept that mistake as born of some miscalculation. Nobody commits a mistake by a conscious effort, right? No. In your attempt to correct something, an error has creeped in. Right? Do you want to grow or not? Means everybody says yes. Do you want a bright future? Yes. Do you want not to repeat the mistakes again? Yes. If so, respond maturely. Right? If a person has been disturbing you in the past, if your opinions about him, about his behavior towards you in the past is so bad, right? And that is now inside you as a strong image, all that you must understand is his behavior has been born of his likes and dislikes. When you know that his behavior has been born of his likes and dislikes, immediately you understand his likes and dislikes being limited, his behavior also should be incomplete. You saw? That is how you respond. The more you understand that every man is governed by his likes and dislikes, the more you begin to respond properly. Right? Everything inside us, all our past can be divided into people, experiences, images. Objects, experiences, images. Places, experiences, images. That's all. You went to some place, you lost a purse, right? Losing the purse is an experience, right? That I have lost a purse, therefore I am a very bad, reckless, irresponsible person is your conclusion about yourself. That is the image. You pursued an object, right? You had an experience pursuing it or even getting it. Then you have created an image about yourself, an opinion about yourself, a conclusion about yourself that is inside you. You related with some person or you were forced to stay under a person for some time. Right? That man, with that person, you had a lot of experiences. All those experiences are now conclusions. They are the images inside you. Right? What happens is, these images, these experiences are now the predominant thought structure inside your mind. Yesterday I told you, loving movies is not a problem. Right? Loving music, jazz music is not a problem. The problem is allowing that love to be the predominant thought inside your mind. You saw? So having an experience, having an opinion about some people is not a problem. But normally what happens is, these opinions about those people who disturbed you, in the name of constructive efforts, they actually what? Destroyed you. Right? Those objects, in pursuing which, in trying to get which, you thought your life will be better. Getting them or not getting them has only disturbed you. Those places to which you went wanting something, they gave you, they did not give you. Whether they gave you or not, they disturbed you. You have an image about them. All these images, what happens is, they become the predominant thought structure inside you. Yesterday I told you that the predominant thought structure inside you creates a zone of vibrations around you. It is this predominant thought structure that becomes words. It is this predominant thought structure that becomes your actions. It is this predominant thought structure that creates habits. And these habits, born of that predominant thought structure, becomes your character. And finally you, the person. You saw? That is why the past is disturbing you. That is why the past is destroying your future. You saw? An opinion about a person is not an error. Right? You have the freedom to have it. But if you allow it to predominantly dominate you, what happens is, it destroys your freedom. You saw? Therefore, whenever you pursue emotional maturity, right? As you recognize a person's limitations, and naturally the limitations that occur in his responses, what happens is, the thought that was initially in the predominant structure slowly comes down and is sent to the secondary state. Right? I told you the mind is full of pigeonholes. The pigeonholes are classified as predominant and less dominant. From the predominant, what happens is, the thought flows down into the less dominant. Once the thought goes into the less dominant area, you will no longer be disturbed. The thought will still be there. So what? In fact, after some time, its existence is equal to its non-existence. Why? The thought's existence is evident only if it disturbs. Isn't it? When the thought no longer disturbs, what does it matter? Whether it is there or not, you're not at all worried. Right? So the whole sadhana in religion, in self-development, is only correcting the predominant thought structure, right? We are not going to destroy thoughts. I told you it is not possible. We are only going to displace thoughts, right? We are going to give them another place to stay, thereby assuring our future. Okay, so emotional maturity, whenever you respond rightly, the right response is not going to come immediately. The more you recognize, the more you respond better. So whenever you respond better, what happens is the predominant thought structure becomes matured. You're able to understand? Okay, initially what was there? A reactive conclusion was there. Now, when you start responding maturely, the matured response takes over the place of the reacting conclusion. Then what happens? Your predominant thought structure becomes one of maturity, right? So initially I told you, your predominant thought structure, if it is weak, reactive, it creates what? A reactive character. Once your predominant thought structure becomes matured, it creates a matured person. See, so the past was disturbing you. Now you know to handle the past. You are able to face the people who disturbed you, right? You are now giving them the freedom to be like what they are. See, till you become emotionally matured, what happens is, whenever that person comes before your mind, you are immediately upset, right? You wish you were like Hitler, right? You wish, if you are religious, you also want to be like Durvasa. Come on, hurl some curses and destroy those people. Destroying those people will not destroy the images inside you, right? Take it for granted. That is why there are leaders who kill their opponents. Still, inside them, the opponent is always alive. Yes, there is no death to your opponent. There is no death to your enemies, right? Unless you destroy them inside you. The day you destroy them inside you, even if they live long, they are still dead as far as you are concerned. That's how you grow out of it. But we don't do that. We think, let me kill. That is why people are doing all this assassination stuff. See, inside me, that person is looming so large, as though the whole world, my whole world is now controlled by that man, right? So we think, if only we destroy this person, we can live. So we go out and destroy, only to come back and get ourselves trapped more. So there is no escape. On the other hand, all that we must do is correct the thought structure, right? You cannot now remove thoughts one by one, correct it and send it back, right? We don't have any scientific equipment for that. All that you must do is develop emotional maturity. When you develop emotional maturity, what happens, right? Your entire thought structure is now being given a new base, right? All these days your thought structure had a reactive base, right? Now we are going to give it a matured base. The moment you give this base, what happens is every thought structure surfaces only at that base. You understand? And when the thought structure surfaces at that base, now the base is matured, so the response is matured. Initially, beforehand it was reactive, so the response was reactive. Means what? You become emotionally upset, anger, sadness, sorrow, right? But now it is matured, so you come face to face with it. You understand that you have committed a mistake, right? You also understand that now you want to correct it. See, so you now come to live in the present. Okay, so in order to live in the present, all that you must do is put up this base. Create a new base for your mind. We are not now going to destroy our mind and reconstruct it. No, we are not even going to question our mind face by face. In fact, we just give it a new base. Like strengthening a foundation before you construct a multi-story. You give it a new base and then you allow the mind to operate itself. Because every thought will have to surface at the base of the mind. And when you have given your mind a new base, the thought surface is there, it gets a proper response, it goes away. When you react, it stays. When you respond maturely, it goes away. Because it has not got any scope to stay. Now, right, once you become mature, the thought does not have any scope. Where will it stay? All these days it was hiding into your reactions. It disappeared into your reactions and came back with another power. But now when you respond maturely, the thought no longer has any space to stay. Right? It is now the problem of accommodation even in your mind. Like all the metropolis, our mind also is crowded. Right? So instead of giving good thoughts an accommodation problem, we now are going to evacuate bad thoughts and allot that accommodation to good ones. You saw? So the base is very important, and that is only through this recognition that every man is governed by his likes and dislikes, that every man is helpless. Right? He behaves automatically like the donkey I told you that kicks. Right? It's an instinctive action. The donkey does not contemplate. Have you ever seen a donkey go to a temple and meditate and decide, whom shall I kick today? Oh Ishvara, whoever does not come to your temple deserves a kick from me. Therefore, in the name of social service, let me go and kick. No, the donkey kicks a fellow who also is returning from a temple. Right? He feels very bad. But what to do? It's an instinctive animal. In fact, animals are always instinctive. That is why there are 3 stages in a man. As long as a man is instinctive, he is equated to that. Right? So you must remember that. To destroy the instincts inside you. A reactive mind is an instinctive mind. That is why the moment we get moody, we are also angry. The moment we are happy, we can also be terribly sad. Why? Instinct. The donkey is standing on the road as though it is very calm. Suddenly it lifts its legs up. You saw? You have been watching the donkey. It was also silent. It is also kicking. What does that show? It shows that the donkey is a reactive animal. It has got a reactive personality. Like that, you are also a reactive person as long as you do not recognize this. Recognize this, put a base, you watch the happening. That I told you that day. If you know to handle your mind, it is a blessing. If you do not know to handle it, it is a tragedy. Now see, when you put a base, you need not do any other thing. You need not now wait, let the past come, I will catch it by the neck. No. You are now creating a matured, responsive base. Right? The past comes, it clashes with the base, it knows it is handled now, it disappears. Right? You don't even know. Later on only you recognize. The past came, it surfaced, it disappeared. Suddenly you find yourself matured. How is that? That is the mind. Whatever you give it, it keeps. Right? Wherever you send it, it goes. Right? Whatever, to whichever you expose it, it observes, it impresses itself. So when you create a base and allow the mind, it becomes a matured mind automatically. Sir, that is why I told you, you are what you think. Right? If your predominant thought structure is a matured structure, then your life will be full of maturity. It will be full of blessedness. There is a lot of scope for being happy. But if your predominant thought structure is crooked and resentful, then your life will be full of confusions. Right? Like the donkey on the street which does not know what to do the next minute, we are also living. We also don't know what we will do when the past comes again. Why? Till today we have escaped. We are now tired of whistling and singing. We are also tired of jazz and rock music. What do we do next? What is the latest invention? We are waiting. Why? For us to get an escape. We are not waiting for the invention to help mankind. In fact, we are waiting for it to destroy ourselves. All the video watching, you just see. Why? Are you watching to appreciate the cinema? No. Are you watching to appreciate the makers of that movie? No. We are just watching to while away our time. What does it mean by whiling away our time? Right? What do you mean by whiling away? It only implies escaping. Why? If you sit silently, the past immediately comes. Allow every man in your office to sit silently for 10 minutes. Right? Every man then is what? A thinking machine. Thoughts just fly past him. You saw? Millions of years are covered within minutes. Ancestors appear and disappear. All within seconds. Why? If you sit silently, the mind begins to recall. The past surfaces. You can't handle it. That is why whenever you sit silently, you switch on the video or the audio. There are fellows who plug something into their ears. Why? They are so weak. Yes, like babies, they want to be fed right into the ear. Why? They are so scared that by the time the music comes from the speaker, comes through the space between you and the speaker and reaches your eardrum, the past might destroy them. The past might kill them. The past might injure them. So they say, let us not give any scope for the music waves to travel. Plug it right into your ear. Yes. The Walkman, what? It catapulted Sony as a leader in the field of electronics, right? That is the business acumen of the man who invented it, right? We will appreciate him, but you cannot appreciate every fellow plugging it into the ear. You saw? The past is so tough. So whenever you find somebody whiling away their time, you can understand that they are a weak person. You go to a party, you see in offices they give parties, and the first thing, the most important thing in the party is to drink, and then eat stuff that is not necessarily eaten by humans of standard. Why? The moment we discuss about giving a party, we immediately talk only about these things. We don't discuss as to what we will do. Can we talk something? Why don't we discuss something? Why don't we call a speaker of eminence and ask him to give us something to think about? We never think along those lines. See, we will not even screen a good movie. Right? If at all we will screen something that stirs up our passions. You saw? Why? That shows the people there who are arranging the party, who are going to participate in the party, are all immature people. Yes, the instinctive nature in them is still there. Why do you give parties? How did the habit of giving parties come? It was actually in recognition of the services of someone, in recognition of their contribution to society, to the nation, to your office, to your family, to you the individual. In one way or the other, when there is something that needs recognition, you give it that recognition. You recognize and honor that man through a party. Right? That is how it came. Okay? Englishmen drank a sip in honor. They did not consume bottles. Yes. Whenever we learn from somebody, we must know how to take it. Right? A champagne bottle is opened up after an event. Right? The champagne bottle is opened up and everybody just takes a sip. That also needs correction. You also should have done that. If at all, the man whom you are honoring is a Westerner. But we are honoring an Indian whose forefather should have definitely been an Indian, better than us, isn't it? 50 years ago, we had more patriots in the country. Today, all the patriots are reserved as an opposition to the Scuds. You saw? All the patriots are only missiles. So our forefathers, the forefather of the Indian whom you are honoring today, should have definitely been an Indian citizen. So you can honor him in an Indian way. But we cannot do it. Why? We are so weak. We are so instinctive. Right? We do not have anything positive in us to rather handle that party. We cannot manage it by guiding it. On the other hand, we ourselves want to escape from the responsibility. So you pass bottles over. You saw? So all this video watching, audio listening, it's all what an escape unless and until it is a leisure. Right? A leisure is what? A gap between two events of working. Right? Between two sessions of working, there should be a leisure when you give rest to your mind. Does this video watching give you that rest? No. It is what? Stirring up your passions. It is stirring up your emotions, which means what? Leisure, on the other hand, is now draining out your energy. You saw? That is why I told you plugging something into your ears is more destructive. Why? It is now stirring up your energy and all the reserve that you have is now going away. You saw? But if it was leisure, you would have listened to something constructive that contributes to your growth, that contributes to your welfare. You understand? So whiling away the time means you are escaping. Okay? So the whole sadhana now is to just develop this maturity. As you develop this maturity, the mind corrects itself. You need not correct the mind. And once the mind corrects itself, what happens is your life changes. Right? So the predominant thoughts determine the person. As you think, so your life appears. If there are a lot of confusions, all that correction should come only inside you. Right? Before you start correcting the people around you. correct yourself. When you correct yourself, you no longer need correct others. Why? You can give them the freedom to live their life. If they feel like correcting, let them come to you. If they do not want to be corrected, let them have their confusions. So now you know how to handle the past, how to create a new predominant thought structure. Right? There is nothing called thought destruction. Remember that. In yoga, one fellow told me, when the last thought goes out, I will be peaceful. I asked him, how will you recognize that last thought? Right? You need another thought to recognize that this is the last thought. Which means what? It is regress ad infinitum. Right? Called logical absurdity in mathematics. Right? This is the last thought. So says another thought. It is a never-ending story. Right? You need not get confused like that. We are not going to drive thoughts away. We are not going even to catch them by their neck. On the other hand, we will allow those thoughts to be there. Let the past be there. You can never destroy your past. Why? What is a fact will always remain a fact. If the past, right, has got a lot of facts about you, you can never destroy it. All that you can do is recognize them. And to recognize them, all that you must do is create a new base and just allow the mind to be itself. That is why Vivekananda always says meditation is effortless. How does he say it? He says create a new base and allow the mind to be itself. Then the mind cannot be itself. It has got to be with the base. You understand? So sadhana begins like this. Try to create a new base. Don't disturb people. Don't curse them. The people who have disturbed you in the past, don't curse them. Don't curse the objects. Don't curse the places. Don't even run away from them. Just recognize. It is an inherent nature of every man to have ragadvesha. It is there in a child. It says, I want this toy. I do not want that toy. See, you can ask me, Swamiji, has it accommodated so much of likes and dislikes or what? It may not have the brains to accommodate, but it does have the brains to what? Live it out. It may not have the capacity to decide, but it has got that capacity to react. You saw? To react, a child need not be old. Yes, it can cry in its mother's arms. Why? That crying is a reaction. Why does the baby cry as soon as it comes out? It is a reaction. There can be 100 medical explanations for this. Still it is a reaction. It is reacting to the sudden exposure to an atmosphere. Yes, that is why it cries. In the mother's arms it cries. In the cradle it cries. Why? It is reacting. It now has got the scope to react. It does not have the scope to decide and react. Right? To accommodate, to accumulate likes and dislikes, it is going to take some more time for the child. It has got to be an adult. Right? From a child onwards, we accumulate likes and dislikes. Society contributes. Our own parents contribute. Yesterday I told you how a parent lives through the child. It's very unfortunate. Great men are living through their inventions, their discoveries, their contributions, their literature. But we all like to live through our children. And that is our only contribution for this world. And that is why we all get married. Why? We want to leave something permanent in this world when we go. And most of us can only leave our families behind. Yes, as long as you are an immature person, the maximum contribution of yours to this country, to this world, to this atmosphere and environment is a family. The family may be distorted, still it is your contribution. A few men live behind their inventions. We don't know where Edison was born. We don't know where even he was really cremated. Right? But we will always remember him. Isn't it? We don't know where Marconi was born. Whether he was married or not. Right? We don't know from which part of the world his wife came. Whether her father gave her a lot of dowry or not. But we will always remember him. See? We will remember Shakespeare and Milton. Newton and Faraday. Why? They all contributed. Their impression on society was a lasting one. People will have to recognize them. They have gone to that level. They raised themselves to such a stature that every man is forced to recognize them. Yes, you must also learn to live like that. That is called living. Right? It is no use condemning your parents. Telling, if I had good parents, I would have been better. Then there is no surprise in that. If you had bad parents and still you are very good, then you are a person. But see, we can never forget our parentage. We can never forget our past. We keep clinging to that past, destroying the future. You saw? But even then we are not keeping quiet. Our past is a disaster. Our future is a dream. We keep on swinging behind this. That is why everybody, they like to play on the swing. Why? That is what you've been doing since inception here. So when you go to a park and there is a swing, you keep the child in your lap and keep swinging as though teaching it, son, you also will be doing the same thing. But then how did Newton come? How did Faraday come? Why do you remember Faraday as a man of stature? Just imagine. What made Faraday a Faraday? What made Newton a Newton? What made Lincoln a man? What made him? You will tell hard work. Right? If hard work makes that man, right? What are you supposed to do? Work hard, isn't it? And that is what we don't do. Why? Our mind is not available for that. That's why I told you in the beginning. Because a student does not have the proper atmosphere and the proper lifestyle, he is not able to excel. Right? You want to excel, right? I told you, everybody wants to grow. Every child on the street with a bat wants to be another Gavaskar or a Richards. Every politician on the days wants to be a Gandhi. Nobody wants to stay 27 years in a prison, but everybody wants to be a Mandela. Why? When you see the recognition that Nelson Mandela commands whenever he travels to any part of the world, you feel very happy. You want to be him, but you forget that for 27 years he's been working for this recognition. What did Mandela do for 27 years in a prison? Most of us would have become non-existent. But he worked inside for the cause for which he was imprisoned. Right? And when he came out, he came with 27 years of experience and research behind him. The world could not but recognize him. Leaders were forced to call him and honor him. That is a sign of a person who wants to grow. You saw? So Mandela converted the atmosphere in which he was placed. The South African authorities imprisoned him and placed him in an atmosphere in which no man can even think of anything. But Mandela was a different man. He said, I will convert this crisis into an opportunity. Right? I will convert this crisis into a challenge. And this atmosphere of the prison shall henceforth be the right atmosphere for my study, for my growth. Either you should be like him, or change the atmosphere and place yourself in a one that is conducive. Because you want to grow, nobody can accept a defeat. See, you don't accept defeat as the final outcome. You are still prepared for reasoning, isn't it? Which means what? You want to grow, right? Every plant wants to grow. Every animal wants to grow. Which means you are also interested in growing, right? You are prepared for that. You go to school for what? You want to grow. You sit down with the books on the table for what? You want to grow. Still you are not growing. Why? You even sit down with the books and slog, right? Okay. You feel you are working very hard. Still you don't grow. Why? You are not in the right atmosphere. You do not have the right lifestyle. That is why religion is a guide to a man. Right? In fact, it is the only guide to any man on this earth. Right? So when religion is a guide and guides you to a better life, it naturally will have to prescribe a lifestyle. Right? Any religion that does not prescribe a lifestyle is not worth following. Right? However noble and divine it may claim to be, still if it does not prescribe a lifestyle, it is not worth following. Why? It cannot guide you. It cannot better your life. It cannot lift you from the instinctive state to one of humanness. Right? It will only contribute to the anguish. You understand? So a religion will have to prescribe a lifestyle. Every educational institution will have to prescribe a lifestyle. The day the institution does not prescribe, and if it does not follow, that institution will not remain long. Yes, any institution that does not prescribe a lifestyle and forces its children, makes them follow, it will not exist. In fact, it is not worth existing. That is why all our universities are now becoming perfect centers for corruption. Why? Because the lifestyle that was prescribed by the founders of the institution has now been dispensed with. Right? The moment you dispense a lifestyle, religion disappears. Look at the modern decay. Even in religion, religious teachers, as they call themselves, all these pundits and priests, the hajis and the bishops, they all have dispensed with the lifestyle that was prescribed by the founders of that religion. Right? The moment they dispensed with the lifestyle, what happened? They began to decay. They also propagated decay. In fact, the religion for which they are representatives, it is also now disappearing. So you need not destroy religion. You destroy the lifestyle it prescribes. You are destroying the religion. You don't follow the principles it has prescribed. You are destroying the religion. You understand? So what is the use of sitting down and shouting? You give sermons. Everybody becomes a Moses when they climb a stage. If there is a mic, they also become a Christ. But what happens is they are not following the lifestyle. The principles have been dispensed with. Naturally, the religiousness also is gone. You saw, the name of the religion is there, but everything else that goes with religion has disappeared. Why? The example is the student here. He has got a good school, right? He has got the latest equipment to help him. Lot of books. He also is prepared to work. He sits down and studies. He is prepared to forego some movies. Also, still he doesn't grow. Why? Mentally he is not matured. 1, 2, he is not in a proper atmosphere. His lifestyle is not that which should help him to grow. If there will be 3 changes, a matured mind, a proper atmosphere, and a right lifestyle, every man will grow. Yes. Today economic policies, policy planners are blaming religion, right? And they are giving out reservations. The reservation problem should be attributed only to these politicians. Why? Religion prescribes a lifestyle. You saw? It says follow this lifestyle. As a student, as a grahastha, right? Stay in only such an atmosphere. Have a matured mind. You will grow. That is why to create the right atmosphere, we have orthodoxy. To have the right lifestyle, we have orthodoxy. To have a matured mind, you have religion to guide you. If these 3 follows, we need not reserve anything. But this was destroyed by the politicians. You saw? When they destroyed the lifestyle and the principles, they destroyed the very basis of religion.